first, so we got some juicy news coming out of Dallas, Texas, or really out of Oxnard, California, where the Cowboys always hold their annual State of the Cowboys, not speech, but press conference with Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and whoever the coach is at the time. Obviously, right now, that is Mike McCarthy. And there was some very interesting commentary from both Joneses and from the man himself, Dak Prescott, regarding his contract status and regarding the contract statuses of a lot of guys, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. How are they going to get these deals done? So, as you might imagine, with any State of the Cowboys press conference, you're going to have some Jerry Jones playing his greatest hits. He's talking about going all in. He's talking about this new one hanging around the rim. He's been doing that one for a while. He talks about, my favorite, how you write a blank check to win a Super Bowl. More on that a little later in the segment. But all the greatest hits. But the pervading story was Dak Prescott's contract. He's got 1 year left. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2025 if the Cowboys don't get something done soon. So, Jerry Jones, you think Dak Prescott is going to be a Cowboys quarterback beyond 2024? What say you?
I do not think that this will be his last year with the Cowboys at all. Am I being psychotic relative to my mirror? No. It's pretty clear, I think. I want to say it if it hadn't been clear, of how much we appreciate what Dak Prescott has meant to this team in a positive way. But believe it or not, in my life, I've had a lot of things I wanted that I couldn't get because I couldn't afford it. Now, have I learned to live with that in 80-something years? You bet I have, and life does go on. And sometimes when you get a bump like that, you turn around and do better than you would have had you got what you wanted.
It would be a fair assumption to make that Jerry Jones seems to be implying, hey, if we move on from Dak, could be greener pastures ahead. Well, that's obviously ridiculous for two reasons. Number one, since Troy Aikman retired after the 2000 season, so from 01 to 2023, that's 23 seasons in total, Dallas has had two, if not great quarterbacks, at least very good quarterbacks, bare minimum. I love both Romo and Dak. Let's see what the Cowboys are with those guys and without those guys. And let's also dismantle a narrative that the Cowboys know what they're doing when it comes to selecting quarterbacks. With Romo and Dak, the Cowboys, you see right there, have won 61% of their games. Without the two, they've won 39% of their games. With Romo and Dak, they went to the playoffs 9 times. They've won 4 playoff games. Without Romo and Dak, 1 playoff appearance, 0 playoff wins without Romo or Dak since the retirement of the great Troy Aikman. And it's like, well, I mean, they found Romo and Dak. Who says they can't find someone else? Because they lucked into both Romo and Dak. With Tony Romo, first of all, he was undrafted in 2003. So evidently, if they thought he would be something, they wouldn't have used a 6th-round pick, a 7th-round pick on the guy. I mean, come on. He was a pretty good player at Eastern Illinois back in his college days. Well, they developed him. Yes, they did. Bill Parcells, don't know if you've heard of him, but he's one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game of football, was the head coach for the Cowboys Romo's first 4 years there. And, he was on the Cowboys offensive staff basically the entire time Romo was there starting his career. One Sean Payton, who's going to go to the Hall of Fame someday, obviously helped the Saints win a Super Bowl back in 2009 and is one of the best offensive coaches in football. Those two, not Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, or the Cowboys brass, they developed Tony Romo. Well, they found Dak. They did draft Dak after Romo, yet Dak was at best their third choice to be the rookie quarterback they drafted in 2016. Go back to that draft, 2016. Late first round, the Cowboys are trying to make a deal with the Seattle Seahawks to trade back in the first round to get Paxton Lynch, a quarterback out of Memphis. They were not able to do that deal. The Broncos did, traded for Paxton Lynch, and he was out of the league in like 3 or 4 years. He was nowhere to be found for the Broncos. He was terrible. Well, 4th round comes around, and the Cowboys want to draft Dak, right? No. Connor Cook out of Michigan State University. Hey, maybe this kid can be a nice, Romo can mentor him a little bit, and gosh darn it, the Raiders just took him. Well, I guess we got to take this kid out of Mississippi State, Dak Prescott, and see how it works out. And as we all know, Dak ended up being, mild understatement, way better than Paxton Lynch or Connor Cook combined, to put it mildly. Dak was not their first choice. Well, Trey Lance. Okay. Trey Lance was not good with Kyle Shanahan and the best weapons in the league. He's not good. And it's like, Bryson, he only played 4 games. Yes, he only played 4 games before he broke his leg early in 2022, but here's the problem. A year ago today, Trey Lance was a San Francisco 49er. A year ago today, Trey Lance was beginning 49ers training camp in competition with 2 other quarterbacks. Brock Purdy, who was believed to be the starter if he had a healthy elbow, and more importantly, Sam Darnold, a first-round draft bust who's a journeyman, now in the Minnesota Vikings. And Sam Darnold beat out Trey Lance to be the 49ers backup, thus why they traded him to Dallas. So you're telling me Kyle Shanahan, who makes everybody work, makes Jimmy G work, Brock Purdy work, even Sam Darnold was fine in the moments he got with the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan works with everybody, got Matt Ryan an MVP with the Atlanta Falcons. He couldn't make Trey Lance work. And Mike McCarthy can, whoever the Cowboys hire can. Of course not. And the Cowboys will go on to be at best 6-win team if Trey Lance is their starter. That's what Jerry Jones said. Hey, life may be better without Dak. No, it will not be. But what caught my eye, and I think what caught Dak's eye, is something that Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones' son, obviously, and a prominent member in the Cowboys front office, something he said as it relates, he was asked about CeeDee Lamb's contract and why they just can't get things done with CeeDee Lamb. It's really hard. Here's what Stephen Jones had to say yesterday.
You know, you look at a guy like Jefferson, they're not paying a quarterback. They're not paying anybody on their roster at this point. So it's a lot easier for them to stretch a little more. And we're just trying to work through reasonably with CD, reasonably with Dak, what we can do to make it work from an economic standpoint. And certainly when you're trying to pay 3 guys like that, it certainly does limit your opportunities to maybe improve the roster down the line.
Oh, it's so hard. It is. I mean, guys, it is when you have a quarterback who is just making all kinds of money. Dak's the 12th highest paid quarterback in the NFL this year. 12th. He's tied with Matthew Stafford and I believe Daniel Jones as the 12th highest paid player at his position, not even the top 10. One can make the case that Dak, in a weird way, is slightly underpaid if you look at the relative to other quarterbacks in the National Football League. So that's at least noteworthy. So from that perspective, obviously, Stephen Jones is, there's about 3 lies in there that I counted. The first one is that, like, Dak is the 12th highest paid quarterback. Like, you're acting like he's just making all kinds of money. I don't know how you expect us to keep CeeDee Lamb. When he's making just... By the way, the Vikings also paid Christian Darrisaw, so that's beside the point. But I saw this today. The second fallacy and just, I'd say, full-blown lie that Stephen Jones just told right there, okay? This is from Jason OTC. I want to give him credit on Twitter. He put this out here. Of the 14 teams with a $40 million per year quarterback, the Cowboys are just one of 3 without another $20 million per year multi-year deal player. So basically, the Cowboys are one of 3 teams who pay the quarterbacks $40 million of 14, by the way, who do that, who do not have another player on their roster making $20 million or more annually. The only other teams, in case you're wondering, are the Bengals, who that's about to change for them because they're about to pay Jamar Chase, and the Cardinals, who, let's be honest, there's no one really on that roster good enough to make $20 million or more other than Kyler Murray. They're kind of a disaster. So the idea that, it's just, you can't. Philadelphia makes it work. Rams make it work. Bills have made it work in the past. The Chiefs make it work. Lots of San Francisco. San Francisco doesn't pay their quarterback $40 million, but you get the picture. Miami makes it work. Jacksonville makes it work somehow. For some reason, the Cowboys can't. Well, Bryson, they don't pay other guys $20 million or more, but there's a lot of other contracts on the Cowboys roster that are spread out. DeMarcus Lawrence has got the bag, and Zach Martin's got the bag, and Trayvon Diggs got paid, and Stephen Jones can't fool me. He cannot fool me. And he certainly can't fool a man by the name of Sheil Kapadia of The Ring. I want to give him credit because he put this out. And I'm going to ask this, I'm going to put this in question for him. Because the Cowboys, it's just so hard to keep all of these guys. Take a guess, just off the top of your head. There's 32 teams in the NFL. In terms of cash spent, payroll, cash spent, Where do you think the Dallas Cowboys rank in the National Football League? Where do you think they rank? Just take a guess. I'll give you a moment. Dead last. I've always said the Cowboys were cheap. I didn't realize they were that cheap. Dead last in terms of cash spent are the America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And Stephen Jones, just like his dad, Jerry Jones, wants to gaslight the fan base, the media, and all other onlookers upon the Dallas Cowboys that it's just so hard to... You don't spend... Every other team in the league spends more money than you do. Every other team in the National Football League. Seems at least noteworthy. By the way, I should note this. The Cowboys, if they let Dak go, they'll be paying a lot of money because at last I checked, they'll have to pay like $60 million, something in that ballpark of dead money if Dak Prescott walks out of the Cowboys organization. So either way, it's going to cost them a fortune. But that last comment, as ridiculous as it is that Stephen Jones said that, I think it prompted Dak Prescott to be as honest as we've ever seen him ever at a press conference to say this.
It's a two-way street that they have once, I have once. I think I've deserved that, understanding that this is a business. And obviously I want to be here. Talking about growing up, this is where I've become a man. So, but at the end of the day, it's a business. And, when I'm going to say it. I want to be here, but when you look up, all the great quarterbacks I watched played for other teams. So my point in saying that is that's not something to fear. That may be a reality for me one day, may not be my decision.
That was his breaking point. You notice in the first part of that clip, Dak is saying, giving the typical PC answer. He's Mr. Cowboy. He's like, I'm going to say all the right things. I'm like presidential up here. I'm just representing the organization the right way. And then midway through, he pauses. You can see the wheels turning in his head. He looks to his left. I imagine like a PR person, and then says, I'm going to say it. I may play for somebody else in the future. Now, as a Dak Prescott fan, since his days at Mississippi State, I defend this guy constantly against the Cowboys, who I believe to be one of the worst run franchises in American professional sports. As a guy hearing that for the first time, Dak openly saying, I may play for somebody different, my reaction went something along the lines of this.
It's about damn time. It's about damn time.
It really is. I mean, that is Dak. Romo dealt with it too, but I don't think to the level that Dak has, where he has had to deal with, particularly the last two seasons, some painfully average Cowboys rosters. And they got worse this year. It's the very reason I've said throughout the offseason, people talking about, there's all this pressure on Dak. I've said, I don't really think there is. Matter of fact, I'd say quite the contrary. I'd say there's less pressure on Dak Prescott this year than any other year of his career. Be realistic. Do any of us think the Dallas Cowboys have a shot at going deep in the playoffs and contending for a Super Bowl in the NFC? Detroit is way better. San Francisco, we've seen, is way better. Okay, the Packers we saw are way better. The Bears, I don't think are a contender, but I think they're a better football team today than the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles at least have a better roster. We'll see about the coaching staff as time goes on. Atlanta, maybe. They very well could be better. I like their roster better than Dallas. A lot of teams in the National Football League that have a lot of promise, a lot of hope, and a lot of a well-constructed roster that's capable, if the right things come to pass, to go deep in the postseason. Dallas does not. Particularly, especially if CeeDee Lamb's holding out. Now Dak's throwing to Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, some late-round rookie receiver. I mean, it's the cupboard is pretty bare, and I thought it was pretty bare last year other than CeeDee Lamb, who was essentially Dallas's entire offense. Dak has not only dealt with poor roster construction, but he's also dealt with the constant drama that comes with being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, most of it having little to do with football. And I'm telling you right now that the market, Dak is going to hit the open market in 2025. And before I even say anything about the market, I'll say this. Given how, this is July, given how honest Dak was in that clip, What's the date? July 26, 2024. I'll say it today, and I'll play it on the show in March. And if I'm wrong, call me out for it. Hold it against me. In 8 months from now, Dak Prescott will not be a Dallas Cowboy. I'm not guaranteeing it, but my gut tells me, after what I saw there, my prediction, Dak is somewhere else in March of 2025. There's a lot of organizations, a lot of teams, a lot of franchises that are really good, really well run, rosters are well put together, that could really use a quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers. That could use Dak Prescott. He's got a lot of suitors out there, teams that kind of in win now mode, like the Bucs were with Brady, like the Rams were with Stafford. A lot of teams that could use a quarterback from a poorly run organization. There are some parallels to Stafford in Detroit, where it's just garbage around him. Some good players. He had Megatron, but he just needed structure and a great coach and a great GM who put the pieces around him. Then he goes to the Rams, wins the Super Bowl immediately. I think Dak Prescott had that kind of impact on a team in 2025 and beyond. And so, again, seeing this, Jerry Jones talks about he wants to run a blank check for the Super Bowl, yet the Cowboys are bottom of the NFL in terms of cash spent. Bottom of the NFL. That our Patriots spend more money than the Cowboys. Come on, they're awful. They don't have an offensive team, for all we know. I mean, it is the drama that surrounds the Cowboys. And Jerry openly admitted, by the way, this is a quote he had from his lengthy State of the Cowboys presser. I found this interesting and actually quite honest of Jerry Jones to admit this. Quote, I realize all the criticism and I understand it. As a matter of fact, I try to stir it up. And I have been since I got here. That's good. Be relevant. It works. End quote. At least he's being honest. After a big Cowboys playoff loss, particularly at home, who's the media rushing to hear what their take is? It's not Mike McCarthy. It's not Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons. It's Gerald Wayne Jones. Because since 1990, would have been 94, early 1994, the day he fired a back-to-back Super Bowl champion coach, Jimmy Johnson, from that day on for now it's been 30 years since then, Jerry would like to win, but Jerry's ego will always be priority number one for Dallas, at the expense of the players, the coaches, and the fans certainly, and everybody involved with that organization. And so, seeing Dak Prescott, an unprecedented level of candor from Dak, shows me he's out of there in March of 2025. And Dallas is clearly not a Super Bowl contender. Dallas has clearly butchered negotiations with CeeDee Lamb. A.J. Brown got paid. Jalen Waddle got paid. Justin Jefferson, most notably, got paid. Stephen Jones, I mean, it's hard to keep all these guys. I mean, what do you expect us to do? Like finagle and manipulate the cap like other teams do? It is master gaslighting from the owner and GM and his son. And the quarterback said, enough is enough. I've reached my breaking point. I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. I very well may play for somebody different in 2025. And as a Dak fan, that is music, sweet music to my ears. Dallas is a mess. And if you think it's bad now, just wait till 2025 on. It's going to get a heck of a lot worse. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.